a movement per se of spreading spiritism around. The Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas is coming. This is a happy time of the year. This is the time where we cheer more, we have better feelings. Although we are in a lockdown still, but you feel that the atmosphere start to change. So let's take that time of the year to spread the word about Spiritism. It doesn't matter which center you direct the person to. The thing is, there is so much information, there is so much enlightenment. Spiritism is the third revelation. So what is written, what was dictated by the spirits is the third revelation. It's not somebody that's going to come here and give you all the information you need. There's so much that you can research by yourself on the internet, books, talking to people. So if you join this movement, just talk a little bit more about Spiritism. Don't push. I know that we cannot push anything, but if that's something that comes up, just talk a little bit more, because this is I don't know about you, but for me it was a life-changing. It was like totally yin and yang. I feel much better just because I start listening, I start researching, I start learning. So maybe we can do the same to the others, right? So if you are on board, please, let's start spreading this. Also, we're going to have from now on our speaker available right after you take your passes. We're going to have the speaker of the night available to chit chat, to clarify some points of the night's talk, or talking generally about Spiritism, because then we can start bonding again. It's not just coming to the center, listening, take your passes and get out of here. No, let's try to, get together again a little bit more. So we will try to enjoy a little bit more our time together, even though we are masquerade. But that doesn't hide our personalities, right? So, as usual, with Kardec's glasses, which is Livia's. Happy life. And when you undertake a commitment, honor it with your presence. Before you assume any responsibility, think it through to avoid unpleasant situations. Should something keep you from showing up or attending to it, communicate it ahead of time to avoid inconvenience those waiting for you or counting on you. Whatever the magnitude of your responsibilities, always fulfill them all. Be honest and be true to your word, right? Whatever you say. And that's the lumberjack saying, right? Measure twice, cut once. So if you're gonna really say it, measure twice. Because once it gets out of your mouth, it's not yours anymore. And if you say something, people will count on it. Don't let people counting on it and not doing, because that will be the fable of the farmer and the dog and the wolf. The dog barked so many times that the wolf was coming, and there was nothing. That when the time the wolf really came, the farmer didn't believe. So let's try to keep up with our expectation and whatever we set up. Just try to set up what is possible, not what is, because sometimes we want to embrace the world, right? Sometimes we want to do, and this is true to us, but be realistic in what you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be burned out. We see so many workers, especially in the center, that try to do pretty much everything. They're here like 4 days a week. And after 1-2 years, you don't see them anymore. They burn out. So try to commit to what you can do. Try to commit to something that is possible. And then you see that will grow on you, and then you can do more and more and more. So let's pray. Dear Lord, spirits of the high above, our mentors and mentors of the center, in particular this meeting on Thursday, thank you for bringing us here, enlight and inspire our speaker tonight, and may we understand her message not just as single words that goes to our brain, but with our heart. Let this message be engraved in our heart, and let us take this message outside. And when we see the opportunity, let's replicate this message. Let's be good to us and to each other. And may you stay with us when we need, not just to help us, but to support us when sometimes we doubt about ourselves. May this meeting be a light beacon to our whole week, and may us be back home better than when we came. In the name of the high spirits, of the mentors of this house, we ask permission to start our meeting. Say, so be it. So we're gonna have our awesome talk of the night by Adriana, and she's gonna rock. No pressure. No pressure. Oh, have I said no pressure? You always rock, girl. What you talking about?
Let's go. Good evening, everyone. I feel very obligated to, before we started the talk, to share something. It was not until 3 or 4 days ago that I talked to Peter, and we talk about this new format that the speaker of the night is going to be present outside. We're going to be interacting and talking a little bit about whatever topic we are discussing that night. And I think even before I did my first talk here about reincarnation, one of those nights that we lose sleep and inspiration starts to come in, I keep thinking about the principles of Spiritism. But I thought, this is not the time. Let's concentrate what we are working on, reincarnation, and then we'll talk about that later. And I'm very thankful that the whole orchestration that Spirit is putting to, that for the first night of this new program, we never talk about what was going to be my talk, but everything orchestrated to be about the principles of Spiritism. And I think that's very important because I assume with everybody is the same thing. When you come and you talk about the Spiritist Center or you talk about Spiritism, everybody turns to you and is like, what is that? And if we are just starting to come to the center, we get to the point that we're like, I know everything in my head, I just don't know how to say it, don't know how to explain to you. So hopefully, this is what we're going to be doing tonight. So we are going to try to understand the Spiritist thought, and that will be by analyzing the principles of Spiritism. All right, this is working, eh?
Everything's working today.
Oh, today is the day. So for us to talk about the Spiritist principle, I feel the need that we need to clarify what is Spiritism. So Spiritism is simultaneously a science of observation and a philosophical doctrine. It's not one thing, it's not another, it's simultaneously, and it has the religious aspects too. As a practical science, it consists in the relationship that it can be established with the spirits. As a philosophy, it entails all the moral consequences that result from such a relation. So I don't know if you've been lucky enough to hear Livia talking about the definition of Spiritism. The first time I heard her saying that, it was in a class, but my memory, I see her right in the corridor of an airplane and playing a flight attendant, because she does this cutest thing that she says, Spiritism is a science that deals with the nature, the origin, and the destiny of spirits and their relationship with the corporeal world. So it's amazing. So right there, I'm envisioning Spirit Airline and Livia on a uniform doing all these things. So I'm gonna read it one more time and try to keep that in your mind, and I guarantee you're never gonna forget the definition of Spiritism. It is a science that deals with the nature, the origin, and the destiny of spirits and their relationship with the corporeal world. So that definition pretty much englobes everything that we can ever talk here. But I don't know for you, but for me, that's not enough. I want to know more. I want to know, okay, what does that mean? Tell me practically, what can I do in my life? Give me all the information. So since I love talk about definition, I love to see everything clear. Let's talk about what is a principle. It's a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief. Let's see if I don't mess this up. Or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. So in Spiritism, yes, it is a system of belief. It is system of behavior. That is something that will change your life, that will change your mind. Whatever you believe, it will have an impact in your life. And especially, it's a chain of reasoning. We're not going to come here and tell you, you have to believe this just because it is or because it's in a book. We're going to tell you, think about it, research, go look for the information, and then you can reason about. So that being a definition of principles, it is a foundation. So for Spiritism, for us to be standing strong, we need to have all those principles, all those foundations, that then we can build our system of belief on top of them. So today I'm going to talk about the 6 main principles. We're not going to try to make a 3-4 hour talk, so let's keep just the 6 main principles. And if time permitting, we're going to just touch a little bit about some other aspects that's very important to our reasoning. And then a few weeks from now, hopefully I'll come back here, and then we're going to open up those principles into more practical statements or something that can really come and shape the way we view and deal with our lives. All right? So, principle number 1, the base of everything, is the existence of God. Now, for me, this is a very hard topic to talk about, because how are we going to define God? With the intelligence that we have right now, with our smallness, it is almost impossible to define something as basic, as primordial as God. But we're going to try. The creator of the universe. He created spirits and matter by the means of the universal laws. So, we are unable to conceptualize God, but we come with our intelligence, as little as it is, but it is ingrained. We have deep down that the knowing that we have a creator, we have a father or mother, somebody that we can look it up to, that we can trust, that it is the source of our being. Now, if we're going to talk about anything else in Spiritism, we need that is the one thing that we need to believe by faith. Since we cannot put in words, we cannot define, that's the one thing that we have to have faith. We have to believe on the instincts, on that little voice inside of us that it's inherent. We know there is a creator. The only way that we can get at least a little glimpse of God will be trying to define or try to find some of his attributes. He is the supreme intelligence and the first cause of all things. He is eternal, unchangeable, immaterial, unique, all powerful, and supremely just and good. We can take years talking about each one of those. Immaterial, it's not that he doesn't have matter, which they also say, but it's above the matter, above the spirits that we are. It is above everything else. Even on the Bible, like you open the Bible, the first thing you're gonna read, it's gonna say, in the beginning, God created the world. So right there, we can understand that he is creating the world. So this is the beginning, but he is already there. He's already creating the world. So there's no way to go above that. It is the main source of everything, the supreme intelligence. So I'm not gonna try to say much more about God, because that's who we are right now. That's our stage. As we evolve, we learn a little more about it. Now, number 2, the existence of spirits. We cannot be a spiritist center and not believe in spiritists, right? That will go against the name in itself. If we spend a minimal amount of time looking to ourselves, analyze ourselves, and having a relationship with any other human being, it will be almost impossible for you to deny there is an existence of a spirit. So what is a spirit? The intelligent principle of the universe. So Kardec's going to be asking that to the spirits. So it's right there on the beginning of the spirits book. On another little book that most of this talk is coming from, called What is Spiritism, he's also going to ask the spirits again, and the answer will be, spirits are not, as often imagined, separate beings within the creation. They are souls of those who used to live on earth, or in other words, stripped of their corporeal envelope. So I'll even extrapolate a little more that if you are not yet stripped of your corporeal envelope, what is a spirit? It's just me and you, each one of us. We are nothing more than a spirit with having a physical existence. So spirits are each one of us. Also in the Medium's book, he's going to say, according to the Spiritist theory, spirits are the intelligent beings of the creation. So when God created, we always talk about God created matter and spirits. There's nothing else besides that. So whatever is not material, even if it's something as subtle and fluidic, it will be spirit. They people the universe beyond the limits of the visible world and constitute the population of the invisible world. They are the souls of men who have lived upon the earth or in other globes and who have quitted their corporeal envelope. So it's pretty much saying the same thing in a little more complex way. So for us in a spiritist center, I'm assuming that everybody that's here does believe in spiritists, or at least is trying to analyze that possibility. By the second that you believe or that you entertain the idea that spirits do exist, you are leaving behind a materialistic view. So you are entertaining the idea that there is something more than physical, than the matter, than your body. So let's build a little bit on that theory with the next principle. So we already talked about, yes, we believe in spirits. Now, building on, we not only believe that spirits do exist, we also believe that spirits are immortal. Now, let me say again without my accent, so we don't think that's lacking of morals. We are not dying, we are not mortals. So spirits are immortals. Thanks for the laugh. So what does that mean? That means that, yes, we do have a spirit, we are here, but once our physical body dies, loses its vitality, the spirit will not end right there. It will go somewhere else. It will have an extension and it will be eternal. So we are not ceasing our existence by the time we are leaving our physical body. By demonstrating the existence and the immortality of the soul, Spiritism revives faith in the future, raises the spirit or the discouraged, and enables us to bear the adversities of life with resignation. Two theories are offered. So, materialism, or the end when we pass away, and the continuation of spirit. So, two theories are offered. One denies the existence of a future life, while the other proclaims and proves it. So there comes this scientific part of Spiritism. One explains nothing, while the other explains everything and appeals to our reason. So it makes us think, it makes us to force our mind to come to the conclusions, to come to an understanding of what is life. One justifies selfishness, while the other provides a firm basis for justice, charity, and the love of one's fellow human beings. One offers only the present and destroys every shred of hope, while the other one consoles by showing the vast horizon of the future. So just on that point, it gives us hope that whatever is happening now, this is not the end of a story. If your story right here does not end in a way that you consider good or happy, that is not the end. That's just turn the page, there's another chapter coming up. Now, let's continue to build on that. So we already affirm that there is a spirit. We're saying the spirit's not gonna die. It's not gonna end with your physical existence. And now we're gonna say, guess what? We're gonna come back to another physical experience. As a spiritist, we do believe in reincarnation. So what is the purpose of reincarnation? Atonement and the progressive betterment of humankind. Without this, where would its justice lies? So right there, the first principle, we talk about the existence of God, and we talk about how he's all-powerful, just, and essentially good. So how are we going to believe that God is really just if we not believe in reincarnation? Now, what is the basis for all this? What is the base of reincarnation? Reincarnation is based on God's justice. All spirits strive for perfection, and God provides them with this opportunity through the trials of corporeal life. So it entails to come back on a physical body. Divine justice compels them to use their new existence to do what they were not able to do or complete in a prior trial. So whatever is happening right now, whatever good or bad you do, we'll have another chance to come back and either repair or building up on what we did before. So this whole part here, it's question 171 on Spirit's book. And it's actually a comment that Kardec is making after the question and answer. So he keeps building on and he says, it is the only theory that satisfies the idea that we form of God's justice regarding those who are placed in a morally inferior condition. It is the only one that can explain the future and give us hope because it offers us a way to make amends for our errors through new trials. So that in itself explains to us why a child have an existence stopped in infancy, or why somebody that has been always good and wonderful, always doing good, go through very difficult trials, or sickness, or somebody that's born with deformities, with mental disabilities. So once we start to study reincarnation, all of that starts to make sense. Number 5 now. Communication with spirits. Now, I'm going to ask you to have a little faith here, close your eyes, and I'm going to read this whole statement so you don't have to, but I want you to close your eyes and really think about every question I'm going to ask you. What is a man if not a spirit imprisoned in a body? And why should not a free spirit be able to hold converse with a spirit in prison, just as a free man can converse with another who is bound in chains? If you admit the survival of the soul, it is rational not to admit the survival of the soul's affection. Since souls are everywhere, it is not natural to believe that the soul of one who has loved us during life should come near to us, should desire to communicate with us, and should, for that purpose, make use of the means in his power for doing so. Did not his soul, during his earth life, act upon the matter of which his body was composed? What is not his soul that directed the movements of his body? Why then, after death, if in sympathy with another spirit still bound to an earthly body, should he not be borrow an earthly body in order to manifest his thoughts? So that in itself, if we analyze that we are spirits and we are having a bodily existence, that means our spirit is manifesting itself through a body. Once that spirit passes on, leaves his own body behind, why not he come and get in contact with somebody that has the capability of have that physical relation, the capability of communicating his thoughts to pass to somebody that he loved? It is nothing more than what we are doing. We are using our body to give voice to our spirit. So when another spirit is coming and communicating through us, it is the same thing. It's a spirit communicating through a body. The only difference is that it's not his own body. He's going to be doing that momentaneously, and then you regain your own body. So Kardec keeps saying a little bit on the Medium's book. And he says, with many persons, however, belief ends here. They readily admit the existence of souls and consequently that of spirits, but they deny the possibility of holding communication with them because, they say, immaterial beings cannot act upon matter. This denial proceeds from ignorance of the real nature of spirits. And here, ignorance is not calling them dumb, it's just saying it's the lack of this type of knowledge, about which the world in general holds exceedingly false ideas, erroneously regarding them as abstract beings, as something vague and indefinite, which is a great mistake. If we consider spirits to be vague, to be something extra or supernatural, we are denying ourselves because we are spirits. So the communication, it's natural. Now, communication with spirits is not something that belongs to spiritism. It's not something that Kardec discovered upon talking to the spirits. This is human nature, is a spiritual nature. So you will see that on every single religion out there. And you will see that even in people with materialistic views that deny any possible relation with spirits, but they still feel the influence. Now, for us here in the Spirit Center, and here I'm saying physically this place because this is what I know and what I am part of, we take the communication with spirits with very great care. It's not something that we're gonna be sitting around a table holding hands and saying, "Grandma, come and say hi to me." No, it needs to have a purpose for this communication. Most of the communication that's done is to receive instructions or to help spirits that has passed on and are confused or never believed that they were spirits and they're in turmoil. So those are the type of communications that we're going to be entertaining here because it is in a very responsible way. But we're getting there. Number 6. Plurality of words. It took me a long time to be able to say plurality without stumbling. So, the universe comprises an infinite number of words that we see and even those that we do not see, in addition to all animate and inanimate beings. All the stars that revolve in space, and all the energy that fills up that space. As a physical constitution of the various planets is not the same for all, do the beings inhabiting those worlds have different types of body and physical makeup? That's something that Kardec asked the spirits. And the answer was super simple. Of course, just as fish in your world are designed to live in the water and birds for the air. So every time that I hear anything about searching and finding and discovering life in other planets, mostly they're talking about bacteria or the presence of water and things like that. And in my mind, there's a bell ringing and saying, we're defining life just as our life, just as we know. Exactly. And there's so much more about. We cannot think that we are the only expression of life that there is. So in Spirit's book, question 55, Kardec is asking about plurality of the words. And the answer is, God has populated planets with living beings, all of which have a role in the ultimate divine plan. believing that living beings are confined to the one point of the universe inhabited by us casts doubt on God's wisdom. So we go back again to the first principle. God's all powerful, created the whole universe. God has done nothing in vain and must have assigned a purpose to every other word that is more important than merely serving us as a lovely backdrop for our planet. Again, that's a very narcissistic view. Furthermore, there's nothing in the position, size, or physical makeup of Earth that warrants the assumption that it alone, of the thousands of planets in space, has the privilege of being inhabited. I know this is, for a lot of people, when we're talking about religion and God and spirits, it's easier, it's more palatable. Once we come to talk about plurality words, we start like, what are you saying? Do you believe in aliens? But think about it. I'm not telling you to believe this or not. Think about it. Do your research. If you start to look for all the clues, if you start to look for all the information that we have now, for all the scientific information that we have now, it becomes almost impossible to deny that there is more to life than Earth. Especially if you consider that life is not just as we know. There's more to it. So how is everybody doing? Still breathing? Is still okay there? I think we have a few more minutes that we can touch briefly in some other aspects. So those 6 principles are pretty much defining Spiritism. Everything will be based in one of those topics. But making a little more day-to-day, some other aspects that we believe as a Spiritists. First one there on top of the list is Spiritism is essentially Christian. So I say that because we believe that Jesus is our master. It is the purest spirit ever to inhabit the earth. It's our guide for moral conduct and love. In a moral sense, Spiritism is essentially Christian since it merely teaches the development and applications of Christ's doctrine, which are the purest of all and whose superiority no one contests. This proves that such doctrine is God's law and that is for everyone. Even though I affirm that we are essentially Christians, we believe that Jesus is our master. We believe Spiritism is for everybody. You do not have to think of Jesus in a mainstream kind of view to believe in everything else. So we can talk about Spiritism with Islamic people, with Judaism, with any other religion, with atheists, with anything. If we come to the principle that what is doing for your life, what are the moral teachings, how it can change your life. Another very important aspect is evolution. That's why we talk about reincarnation. What is the base? That we're going to evolve. The existence of a spirit has no end, and we will evolve until we become pure spirits. So the same way that we believe Jesus is the purest that ever been on earth, we have the same path because we have been created by the same God exactly the same way. It may take us 1 billion of incarnations to get to the point of Jesus, but that is our destiny. Free will. This is the way. This is pretty much how reincarnation works. You have the free will to make your choices. We have freedom of thought, freedom of actions. But We are held accountable for those actions and their consequences. If you look on Spirit's book, you're probably gonna have to, I think we are recording this, so you probably come back to this and get the numbers from item 843 until 872. So a lot of questions. It's all about free will. There's a lot to learn about free will because because it is not only, yes, I can do whatever I want, but you'll be responsible for. So let's think about before we do anything. In cause and effect. So that's pretty much deriving from reincarnation, from free will, cause and effect. Whatever you do will have an effect. And I'm not saying you do something bad you're going to pay for. It is literal cause and effect. You do something good, that will have an effect. You do something bad, that will have an effect. It's natural. It's natural law. So whatever you create, you become responsible for it. What is, help me remember, what is the quote from The Little Prince? Whatever you you are eternally responsible for whatever you attract or for whatever you tame. So that is a responsibility. Each and every single act you have, you do, you will have an effect. It's just natural. So that makes us a little more cognizant on what we are doing, what are actions, and think about what effect that could have in my life. So do I really want to do this right now? Another very important aspect of Spiritism that makes a huge gap between any other main religion or main doctrine and us is the fact that we have no rituals. So we do not have a person that's the top of Spiritism. We always talk about Kardec, that's the codifier, brought the codification, but he was an instrument of bringing the message from the spirits. So it was not one or two spirits. There were many spirits throughout the whole earth bringing the same message. So we're not going to have an election every 4 years to decide who's the president of Spiritism. We're not going to have one person presiding over Spiritism throughout his lifetime and then we choose another one. It's not how it works. It's for everybody. It's a body of knowledge that belongs to humanity. And with that, it strips away all the rituals. We're not going to have special vestments. We're not going to have special sayings or prayers or essentially no rituals. Exactly. We're gonna use our reason before we adopt anything. And also life in spiritual plane. Oh, let me go back a little bit. I have something here about the independence, being independent of rituals. It preoccupies itself with no particular dogmas. And now me again trying to define things. Dogma is a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. So a dogma is something that an authority figure, somebody will say, this is what it is, and you cannot say anything against it. You have to go by it. So, lost myself here. So, no particular dogmas, nor it is a religion per se, since it has neither priests, pastors, nor temples. In essence, Spiritism imposes itself on no one. It is not intended for those who have a faith or those or whose faith is sufficient, but rather it is for the immense majority of unbelievers and insecure. So when we are going to be spreading Spiritism, we're not going to go to somebody that's super secure on their religiosity, whatever it may be, and we're not going to come and say, hey, think about that, you may not be right on your thinking. No, that would be cruel to do something like that. But if you find somebody that's looking for answers, is looking for the reasons, this is the person that we're going to talk about. If somebody has a belief, a religion that's working, it's helping them to be a better person, it's helping them to be happy, to treat others well, that's all we can ever hope for. That is the whole reason for us to be here. So if they're content, if it's working for them, that's what they need at that moment in their lives. Now, when we talk to somebody that's going through something, we can share our views and see if that will help them. Now, life in spiritual plane. So we believe in all that. We believe in spirits, we're immortals, we reincarnate. But if we are firm in that, once our physical body dies and the spirit goes on, it goes where? It gotta go somewhere, right? There's no floating or immediate reincarnation. There's a whole life in a spiritual plane. If we believe that we are immortals, the spirit must go somewhere after leaving a physical experience. A lot of Spiritism literature reveals to us how life is on the spiritual plane, and most important, how we can prepare for such a life. Why are we still here incarnated? It's not like, okay, this is what you're going to be thinking about as you were taking your last breath or as you find yourself in the spiritual plane. Now, the preparation starts right now. Nobody's going to say, okay, I'm going to Europe, and you pack your bags and you get there, and then you're like, oh, what country do I want to go? What do I want to visit? What language do they speak here? What kind of currents? Or no, we do the homework beforehand. We go prepared so we can really take full advantage of that. So exactly the same for us here. As we prepare, while we are incarnated, we're going to have a much better life in the spiritual plane. And another one that we're going to mention today is the influence of spirits in our daily lives. So question 459 on Spirit's book. Do spirits influence our thoughts and actions? And the answer is they often direct both. Their influence is greater than you think, for very frequently it is they who guide you. I've been here in the Spirit Center for quite a few years now, and I see most people that come here, it's because they are feeling some kind of influence of spirits in their lives. So believing on all the principles that we talk about, it would be impossible not to entertain the idea that they influence us, because they are us, we are them. It's the same way that I come and I have a talk to Peter here, and I can be depressive and crying and bring him down, or I can be super joyous and tell him wonderful ideas and share his stories. I will be influence his behavior and his life and his thought. Is the same way. It's just our perception may be a little more subtle than in a physical contact. All right, everybody with me? Livia, now that you're here, I must tell you, I used you as example earlier on when we are defining Spiritism. Do you guys still remember what is Spiritism? Everybody.
The Holy Spirit.
Sorry?
The Holy Spirit in our body.
That's the presence of divinity on us. It is exactly. Is the creation principle, the memory, the part of God in us, because we are His creation. So now, with all that we talk about, all the principles, what we believe, what do we do with them? What are we gonna be doing with this information? What does that mean for our life, right? So Spiritism softens the distress of life's sadness, calms the despair and agitation of the soul, dissipates the uncertainty and fears of the future, and eliminates suicidal feelings. At the same time, it brings happiness to those who believe in it. So if we spend a tiny little bit of time thinking about the principles, analyzing what it means, how it is expressed on our daily lives, we're going to have our sadness, our despair, agitation minimized, because we know this is not it. There's a lot more to life than just this that we have right now. The essential aim of Spiritism is human improvement. Remember we talk about evolution? That is the whole reason. In it, one should only seek for what can really help mankind improvement. So that brings us to the maxim of Spiritism. Without charity, there's no salvation. So when hopefully I come back in a few weeks and we're going to be talking more about what does all of this means to my life? What is the translation of those principles into my life, and what can I do to make it better, to make myself happier, to make myself a person who is not only here talking about Spiritism, but is somebody that will step out there and will show charity to anybody that I encounter. So I hope that tonight I gave you guys a little bit of tools, a little bit of insight on how to approach Spiritism with anybody that you may find, you may meet. And as we're starting today, as Peter say, I'll be out there on the little front room. So if you want to come and chat a little more, you are so very welcome. And thank you so much for your attention.